All right, you're not going to believe the news here. You really won't believe it. You're going to think this is a hoax. So I'll read it to you, and then you can decide if it's a hoax. Maybe I'm pulling your leg. So here it is. From the American Medical Association website, wink, wink. Is it true or is it not true? Let's find out. Okay, the AMA calls for a ban on direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs and medical devices. Whoa! Hold your horses there, Texas Sam. The American Medical Association wants to ban drug advertising to consumers? What? Is this a hoax or is this real? I dare you to find out. It turns out it's real. It's actually real. I checked it 3 times because I thought it might have been a hoax too. I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. But let me explain to you what this is really all about and the history of this very briefly so you understand what a freaking big deal this is and how desperate the drug industry has become and how desperate Western medicine has become. Look, the entire medical system is on the verge of collapse. It's on the verge of imploding. It is in desperation survival mode. That's what this is all about. They're trying to call for an end to drug advertising to make drugs more affordable because they realize that as drugs are becoming more and more expensive, people are just looking for alternatives. No one can afford these drugs anymore. The prices are ridiculous. They go up 500% a year. No one can afford them. Everybody's going bankrupt. The whole Obamacare failed system of sick care maintenance is going bankrupt because of prescription drug advertising to consumers. So let me explain what this is all about. First of all, you got to understand that in most countries around the world, it is illegal to advertise prescription drugs to consumers. It has been that way forever. Only in the United States and I think one other country, maybe it's Australia, is it legal to advertise directly to consumers. And I'm talking about advertising prescription drugs. Why is this? Because there is no justifiable medical reason to advertise prescription medications, which can only be prescribed by a physician, to end users, consumers, in other words. There's no reason, there's no logical explanation for doing that. Consumers are not trained in medicine. Consumers are not trained in pharmacology. Consumers are not trained in the interactions of prescription drugs. Consumers can't go buy the drugs themselves. They're not over-the-counter drugs. They're prescription drugs. So a doctor is the one who should be making the assessment. A doctor is the one who should be determining what's the best thing for their patient. It makes no sense whatsoever from a true medical sanity point of view to advertise these drugs directly to consumers. So in 1997, the FDA, under extreme pressure from the criminal pharmaceutical industry, which, let's face it, is run by a bunch of absolute thugs, mafia, total mafia here, some of the worst corporations on the planet, not quite the worst. Monsanto would be the worst, but these are right next there in line. GlaxoSmithKline, Bayer, which was part of the German conglomerate that committed war crimes against Jews in World War II. Yep, that's where Bayer came from. IG Farben. Let's see, who else do we have out there? Eli Lilly. Oh yeah, our favorite little teen HPV vaccine injector right there. Just harming so many children with that. Anyway, the list goes on and on. Lots and lots of pharmaceutical companies. And they're horrible. They are highly unethical. All they want to do is make money by pumping you full of drugs. They don't care if you need those drugs. They don't care if you're even sick. They will invent fake diseases to push their drugs. And then they use this advertising that they got legalized in 1997 to brainwash consumers to ask for brand name drugs that they don't even understand. And so here's how a typical ad looks. They have a drug, we'll call it Abilify, right? Isn't that one of the big ADHD drugs out there? I think it is. I don't keep track of all these drugs, so I don't even know their names. But the two biggest categories, by the way, are statin drugs and ADHD drugs. Or wait a minute, the top 3 would be statin drugs, blood pressure drugs, and ADHD drugs, or psychiatric drugs. So they're making billions of dollars on this, and the ads look like this. Oh, we have a sweet little boy, and he's surrounded by lovey-dovey families and swans, magical unicorn. No, that would be for girls, little girl ads. The little boy has a magical baseball catch mitts, and he's warm, fuzzy, rolling in the grass at the park, and there's beautiful music, and everything's wonderful. And the narrator says, doesn't your child deserve an opportunity to learn? And then they show the logo, Abilify. Okay, so these ads impart no information to the consumer that could be used by a consumer to make an informed, rational decision. None whatsoever. These ads are designed to do nothing but create an emotional association. In neurolinguistic programming, this is called anchoring. It means that you create an emotional state and then you anchor your logo to it. This is what Coca-Cola did, or does. This is what Pepsi does. This is what the Marlboro Man was all about back in the big tobacco days. And this is what the drug companies do. They create a strong emotional state, and then they show their brand, and then they anchor you to it. And at the end of every ad, what do you hear? Ask your doctor about Abilify. Ask your doctor about committing suicide with chemotherapy. No, they don't say that. That's what they should say. Ask your doctor about activating the school shooter hiding inside your teen boy. All he needs is psychiatric drugs to unleash the inner killer. That's what it should be. Actually, if it were like truth in advertising, that's what it should be. Hey, ladies, get on the pill. You can control your reproductive choices up until the day that you're infertile because of the pill. The side effects, whatever. All right, I'm not gonna continue on that. But here's the deal. These ads are BS, right? But they cause patients to go into their doctor's office and start demanding that damn drug that they saw on television. I want my Abilify. I want my Vioxx or whatever. I don't know, what's the latest statin drug? What a drug X, Superfi, whatever. And they go in there and they demand that. And they don't even know what it does, a lot of them. They're just like, I saw this thing on TV, and all these people, they look so happy, and they were like in the park doing Tai Chi, man, and I want that drug. Doctor, give me that drug. And a lot of these doctors are like, hell yeah, man, I'm getting kickbacks anyway. Just going to prescribe whatever they want. And the glorified drug dealers is what they've become. So the doctors have become medical morons. All they do, well, I shouldn't say all they do. There are good doctors out there. But a lot of the lame ones, what they do primarily is that patients come into their offices and they just let them talk. Like, so what drug do you want, man? And the patient's like, well, I saw something on TV. It was this amazing drug. And he was like, ask your doctor. So here I am. I'm asking my doctor. And the doctor is like, well, this ought to make you feel better. And writes it out on a prescription. Goodbye. And then the doctor gets a kickback from that drug company, right? Get free vacation to Hawaii. Or, oh, here's $5,000 to give a lunch speech for, quote, drug education. Yeah, there you go. And so they're all getting bribed and paid off. Well, again, I shouldn't say all. The bad ones are. The majority of them are. There are good doctors out there like complementary and alternative medicine doctors. I'm not trying to say bad things about those people. I applaud them, actually. But I'm talking about the general practitioners, the mainstream doctors that are just nothing but glorified drug dealers. So anyway, they're dealing all these drugs and they're getting kickbacks and they're like just filling their patients full of toxic chemicals that are causing liver damage, which is actually a bonus for them because the liver gets damaged and then the patient comes back. They've got more side effects. Hey, doctor, I'm back, man. My liver's all jacked up. I don't know. Something's wrong. What do I need? And then the doctor writes them another prescription. Like, awesome, man. I saw that drug on TV too. Now I got 2 drugs. And then the doctor, pretty soon, I'm on a 3rd drug. Now I got 5 drugs. And then they're just like living at the pharmacy, waiting in line, or going through the drive-thru every day at the pharmacy, got to pick up their drugs. And meanwhile, the drug companies are just cashing in, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And it's all because of this direct-to-consumer drug advertising on television, which has turned our medical system into just a system of brainwashed morons and zombies. Just whatever logo they see on TV, they just go in and ask for that. And the doctor, whatever people ask for, they just write it out. They don't even know. Oh, you don't even have high blood pressure, man. I don't care. I saw it on TV. And they just write it out. and they make the money, and that's it. The system goes. Except here's the big problem. The prices keep going up. And so the more drugs people are on, the more expensive everybody's health insurance becomes. And the more health exchanges start pulling out of Obamacare, causing that system to be headed for an absolute financial implosion, by the way. And then cities are going bankrupt and states are going bankrupt, pension programs, city government healthcare insurance systems, families are going bankrupt, employers are going bankrupt. So they just start firing people. Like, we can't even afford your health care. Just lay them off or replace them with people from Bangladesh or somewhere else who have an internet connection and can do the same job for 1/10 the price. So, the whole system just starts crashing down. Or even more to the horror of the drug companies, people just start turning to herbs and essential oils and homeopathy. They're like, wow, these herbs cost 1/100th the price of the pharmaceuticals, and they work better, and they also don't cause heart attacks. That's amazing. And so they just start using herbs, or they just start using nutrition or superfoods or something else. I mean, no one can afford the medicine anymore because these drug companies spend all their money running TV ads and magazine ads, like 70%, something like that, of their total expenditures in a year go to marketing, with only maybe 25 to 30% go to actual R&D. They're spending way more money on the TV ads than they are developing anything. I mean, why do they even need to develop anything? All they got to do is run ads and convince brainwashed, zombied out, dumbed down, idiotic consumers to just go to their doctor and ask for the Abilify. That's all they got to do. It doesn't even matter what the drug does. It doesn't even matter if they have a disease. It doesn't even matter what the drug's made of. All they got to do is ask for that name. The doctor's like, write it out. And that's it. That's the medical system in a nutshell. And it's insane, and it's going to come crashing down. And that is why the AMA has started to take this action. Anyway, I'll have more analysis on this in the second part of this, so stay with me. This is Mike Adams here on TalkNetwork.com. All right, we're talking about the American Medical Association calling for a ban on direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs. This is a shocker. Of course, the drug industry is flipping out over this, going, wait a minute, how are we going to, brainwash and hypnotize and indoctrinate all the consumers out there to ask for our drugs if we can't advertise to them on TV anymore? You see, they've created... You got to understand that the drug companies, long ago, they realized that they no longer could make all the money they want to make just by making treatments for sick people. Instead, they realized they had to get all the well people on drugs, like everybody. They had to get you on a drug from the moment you're born to the moment you die, and not just one drug, but maybe 5 or 10 or 15. And in order to do this, they had to create a bunch of fake diseases. It's called disease mongering. Seriously, that's a term, the disease mongering. And they just invent all these fake diseases. Oh, you have restless leg syndrome. What are you jogging at night in your sleep? What are you, restless leg syndrome? You need a drug. And then they start marketing a drug, and all these people across America who had never even heard of restless leg syndrome, all of a sudden at night they're like, "Hey, maybe I have restless leg syndrome." And then the ad tells them, "Go to your doctor." I'm gonna go to my doctor. My legs feel kind of restless. I go to the doctor. And the patient's like, "Hey, doctor, my leg's been feeling really restless lately, ever since I saw the restless leg syndrome commercial." And the doctor's like, "Well, you have restless leg syndrome. That's true." The doctor's getting a kickback from the drug company, right? He's got restless legs too. He wants his free trip to Hawaii paid for by the drug company. So he's going to write out the prescription, and then, patients go home and they say, "Look, honey, I got my medication for restless leg syndrome." And they take their pills, and it's all just BS, placebo. Well, I shouldn't say that. The treatment part of it is placebo. It doesn't, because it doesn't work. It's just all in your head. But the side effects are very real. So this person thinks they're getting their restless leg syndrome treated. Actually, they're getting some crazy side effect, like all of a sudden they can't poop but once a week, or oh no, I might go too far if I keep describing things, but you know what I'm saying. Crazy side effects that can happen, including sexual side effects. I was going to go there, but probably better not. In any case, people get all these crazy side effects, and then they think those are other diseases. So they go back to the doctor. haven't been able to poop for a week, and the doctor's like, well, you need, what would we call that drug? If fixing your head is Abilify, then what? Fixing your fecal matter throughput must be called Poopify, right? So the doctor writes on, you need Poopify. And the patient's like, yeah, you're right, I need some Poopify. The ad told me to ask my doctor about Poopify. The doctor writes out Poopify, and then the patient goes home. And now they're taking Abilify or whatever, and they're taking Poopify. And so it makes them poop, but now they can't get an erection, right? So I've been pooping all week, but I can't get any wood anymore. And so now they're all screwed up. They can't even have sex, and their marriage is falling apart or whatever. Or these days, maybe it's their gay sex partner hookup is falling apart. I don't know. They're on, what's that application? What's that called? Tinder? Tinder? Hell, I don't know. It's something like that. I don't know, like hookup app. So now they can't even do that, right? Their app is crashing because all their partners, So then they go back to the doctor. Hey, you can't get an erection, and pooping like crazy. And then the doctor's like, oh, you need Woodify or whatever. It's just, obviously I'm making fun of this. At least I hope you realize I'm attempting to. But the point is, it's all so ridiculous. It deserves to be made fun of. This is all just utterly ridiculous, especially when it comes to psychiatric drugs, and they just make stuff up about kids. They observe a kid. Well, that child, he's been putting 3 blocks on top of 2 blocks, and one of them's yellow. Well, that child is has attention deficit disorder. They diagnose him with something, and then the kid hears the conversation and talks back to the psychiatrist and says, no, I don't. And the psychiatrist says, aha, you have oppositional defiant disorder. and which is true. They actually have a disorder called oppositional defiant disorder, ODD. I'm not even making that up. That's in the DSM manual, DSM-4. The Psychiatry Bible, as it's called, which is an odd name and doesn't have anything in common with the Bible. You don't turn to like Psychiatric Revelations chapter, and the world was ending, but everybody had psych drugs, so they thought it was okay. No. So in any case, this whole thing is a sham, and the AMA has finally come to its senses on this issue. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're fighting for survival is what's going on, because the drug pricing is so outrageous. The abuses of the pharmaceutical industry are so outrageous, and we're talking about price fixing with hospitals. It's the prices with the federal government are fixed. The government can't negotiate with drug companies to get breaks on volume purchases from Medicaid. Did you know that? Or Medicare? I'm sorry, for Medicare. But even many states can't negotiate for Medicaid either. At the same time, the FDA enforces a national monopoly. It's kind of like the Berlin Wall of drug pricing. It's like we live in a medical North Korea, because you can't go to Canada and get your prescription drugs at a discount. You get arrested. Or if you're a city and you try to do that, you get shut down by the FDA. You're not allowed to go to Mexico and buy a bunch of medicine and come back and sell it to your friends, or even give it to your friends, even if they have a prescription. That's a violation of law. So it's an enforced monopoly, enforced at gunpoint. It's the Berlin Wall of medicine. And that is the United States. And so the system is designed to extract the most possible money and productivity from the U.S. economy as they can get away with. And right now, today, the sick care industry, which is all about managing diseases and not curing anything, not actually helping people heal, but rather keeping them sick and making sure they take more chemicals to continue to keep them sick. That whole system takes right now over 20% of the gross domestic product of the country, and that's the highest number on the entire planet by far. And that number is inching towards 25%. Think about it. 1 out of every $4 pretty soon will be spent on sickness management in America. That's crazy. I mean, most countries don't even spend that much money on food. Not even that, or energy, or even defense, national defense. But America spends 20 to 25% of its GDP on sick care, and a lot of that is just these overpriced prescription drugs. And surely you've heard the stories of, what's this dude's name, Martin Shkreli or something? He's from Turing Pharmaceuticals, right? And he acquired that pill that treats some rare parasite infection that you might get if you travel to Timbuktu or something. And this pill used to cost like $1, and then it was like $9 or $11 or something, and then he just raised it. He bought the rights to it and just said, well, this pill now is like $500 a pill. And he never even apologized. He thinks it's great. This is his business model. He just buys rights to old, kind of boring niche drugs, or niche, I should say. And then he hikes the price up like 5,000% or more, and just says, well, you got to pay it if you want to live. So if you happen to travel to Timbuktu or wherever you get this parasite infection, and you actually get this infection, then treatment could cost you like $100,000. What are you going to do? Are you going to say no? No, you're going to mortgage your house, if you even have one, or sell your gold or whatever you have, and you're going to pay for the drug, and to try to save your life. Of course, if you know anything about natural medicine, you probably realize there are herbs that can do the same thing for like $5 instead of $50,000 or $100,000. But most people don't know that. In fact, I think the same chemical that's in that drug was in the cinchona tree in Central and South America, if I recall correctly. Now, in any case, a lot of these chemicals can be found in nature for dirt cheap. And that, I think, is part of what's going into this whole panic by the American Medical Association, which is saying now, we have to shut down this drug advertising to consumers because it's causing prices to get so high and so outrageous that people are saying, to hell with pharmaceuticals, to hell with these medications. We're going to look for alternatives. And what are the alternatives? Medicinal herbs, Chinese herbs, Western herbs, Tibetan herbs, essential oils, even homeopathic remedies, or homeopathy in combination with herbs, or acupuncture, chiropractic care, nutrition, superfoods, all kinds of amazing modalities that are safe, that are non-intrusive, and that are efficacious. In other words, they really work. They have virtually no side effects whatsoever. So the higher the drug prices get, the more affordable, by comparison, everything else becomes. And since Obamacare is a total fraud, and it's not affordable to anybody except those who are getting full-on subsidies from the government, most people are stuck now with huge, huge premiums, like a family of four, $20,000 a year for insurance. And your deductibles might be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 or higher. And so it's a total scam. It's a complete ripoff. It's failing at every level. And in fact, United Health, I think, has announced that they may pull out. I think it's United Health. Yeah, United Health Group. They're going to pull out of Obamacare, they said. They're going to quit it entirely in 2017 because they're losing money on it. Even they're losing money on it. If they quit, this thing just collapses, by the way. It just falls. Obamacare is over at that point. It's only a matter of time before it all unravels. So anyway, the AMA is now, they figured out, they can read the writing on the wall. They know where this is going. And they realize that if we don't stop direct-to-consumer drug advertising, then people are just going to abandon the entire pharma model, and with it, their doctors. And you see, the AMA wants their doctors to have business. Well, if their doctors are nothing but glorified drug pushers, then why do people even need to go see them? They serve really no purpose. And people are finding that naturopaths and healing arts practitioners are actually the better healers out there. So that's who they're going to, and that's what this is all about. All right, this is Mike Adams here on TalkNetwork.com. I will continue this analysis of this shocking news from the AMA in part 3. Stay with me. You may not even realize this, but drug companies spend more money on marketing than they do on R&D. It turns out that a lot of the R&D is actually paid by taxpayers. In the United States, the NIH, that's the National Institutes of Health, is actually funding a lot of the drug company R&D. And as a result, taxpayers are paying for their R&D. So drug companies are free to spend all their money on marketing, which is spent on direct-to-consumer advertising to brainwash gullible, low-information consumers to ask for certain brand name drugs at their doctor's offices. Now, in the last 2 years, let's see, I'm reading this from market research from Kantar Media. Advertising dollars spent by drug makers have increased by 30% in the last 2 years to $4.5 billion annually. $4.5 billion. I think it's higher than that, by the way. The other thing that's going on at the same time that commercial spending is increasing, marketing spending, the prices of these drugs is also skyrocketing. And the cost of a pill that used to be, let's say, $4 might now be $20 a pill. And it's driving everybody into bankruptcy. Everybody. Every family in America is touched by this, affected in a negative way. Shouldn't say touched. More like pilfered. More like robbed at gunpoint. Mugged. Welcome to our hospital. Are you ready for your mugging? Please undress so that we can mug you in the nude. Yes, sign here to be mugged. And in exchange for agreeing to be mugged, we will give you these little pills that will probably screw up your liver and your kidneys, make you fart 12 times a day and lose your memory. So you'll wake up smelling funny and you won't remember who you are. But if you do, come back to the hospital. We'll give you another drug to treat the symptoms of the first one. All right, so that's what drugs, that's what the pharmaceutical industry is really all about, is hiking up the cost of the drugs and hiking up the spending on television. So that's why the American Medical Association has now come to realize that this is going to destroy the entire medical system. It's going to make doctors obsolete because we're really rapidly approaching the point where virtually no one can afford to buy the drugs that their doctors recommend, which means there's no point in visiting a doctor. And so the AMA is now desperately calling for a ban on direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs. Wouldn't that be great to free up all the airtime on TV? It'd be awesome. Instead of having all these silly drug ads that are basically lying to you anyway, showing images of happy, healthy people when their drug actually causes you to have a heart attack and die. That's the reality versus what they show you is like complete night and day, the opposite ends of the spectrum. Believe me, if they have healthy people shown, depicted in the ad, those healthy people are not taking their drug. If they were, they probably wouldn't be able to get up and move like that or look that good or anything. So they hire actors who don't take their drugs to portray their drugs as making you healthy, even though it's all BS. Now, one of the biggest side effects of all this, if it's banned, if these ads are banned, would be that it would radically change the formula of what happens in the mainstream media. You got to realize that the mainstream media right now is essentially financially infiltrated by Big Pharma. And this is why the media, which is totally dishonest, it is, mainstream media is run by the most unethical sellouts who would say anything and print anything to make a buck, even if it means harming humanity. They have no ethics whatsoever. And they will take money from drug companies, and then they'll write pro-drug articles and pro-vaccine articles and Western medicine articles, and then they'll attack the alternatives. Of course, they'll attack dietary supplements, and they'll attack medicinal herbs, and they'll attack acupuncture. And they do this because they get paid. In some media organizations, I've been told, up to 70% of their income is based on money from pharmaceutical companies. And they just run drug ad after drug ad after drug ad. And that's their revenue model. Basically, just they've become prostitutes for the drug corporations. Is anyone surprised to hear this? Of course not. I mean, that's what the mainstream media is. I mean, these are people who come to work with their hands around their ankles. The first thing they do, they check in, got their hands around their ankles, walk up to their desk, and wait to get raped by the pharmaceutical companies. And then they turn around and abuse their readers, or abuse their viewers. And this is their business model, and they love it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they have a fetish for it of some kind. Maybe Maybe some of them have been working with Jared Fogle, over at Subway. He's got some experience in that realm. And so anyway, they do it on a larger scale, though. They're not just raping, children. They're raping the whole freaking country. Everybody, adults and grandmas too, for that matter, because that's who's buying the drugs, right? That gives them the money. So, a lot of these mainstream journalists, their salaries are paid by blood money from drug companies that sell products that kill people, but they don't mind it. That's totally okay. Anyway, if the AMA gets its way, then this cash cow would be cut off, and all of a sudden you would find a willingness in the mainstream media to do actual journalism on the issue of pharmaceuticals and medications and so on. They might be willing to, ask a legitimate question. Conduct actual journalism, which involves asking questions instead of just being prostitutes and parroting the propaganda of the industry that writes your paycheck. So I think that for this reason alone, I'm all in favor of banning direct-to-consumer advertising just because, well, I guess there are lots of reasons, but one of the main reasons is this media factor. If we could take the corruption, the financial influence out of the mainstream media from drug companies, we might actually start to get some honest reporting about those drug companies. And that, of course, would be really revolutionary in America, because right now, you can't get honest news about Big Pharma or vaccines, for sure. You can't get any honest news about vaccines from the mainstream media. You got to go to the alternative media, like my website, vaccines.news. Just check it out, vaccines.news, very popular site, or, of course, naturalnews.com. That's very popular. Also, check out medicine.news while you're at it. That's a pretty cool website as well, medicine.news. In any case, if the AMA gets its advertising banned on all prescription drugs, then might put us out of business, because maybe the New York Times and the Washington Post would actually start to print the truth about drugs, and then no one would need to read my websites. That'd be totally fine with me. I'd be all for that. I could use a little time off anyway. I've been working hard, so I don't mind a break if they want to actually do their jobs, but I doubt it. I don't think they remember what journalism even is anymore. They just get press releases sent to them by the White House or the corporations or the advertisers. They just rearrange a few words, slap their name on it, publish it in the newspaper. Oh, that's a fact in the Washington Post. No, it isn't. It's Monsanto's talking points with your name on it, dumbass. That's what it really is. But they think they're fooling anybody. Give me a break. One time I was visiting a town, and I ordered a pizza, and this was many years ago, and I think I ordered like a 14-inch pizza, and it arrived, and it was 10 inches in diameter. And I actually got into an argument with the delivery person, and then ultimately their boss. I said, look, you think I can't tell that this pizza is not 14 inches? And their answer was, no, the 14 inches is the size before cooking. So, oh, really? So you're selling a 14-inch pre-cooked pizza that gets delivered at 10 inches. And, what kind of pizza dough are you using anyway that shrinks that? I mean, the shrinkage factor here is kind of scary. What the hell's in that dough? And what else is going on in your life that has massive shrinkage factors? When you go fishing, did you catch an 8-inch fish and now it's 4? What else is going on? I'm curious about your private life now. Anyway, same thing is true about, mainstream media. They write stories that are just copied and pasted from corporations, and it's fairly obvious. And they say, oh, well, all vaccines are proven safe and effective. The flu vaccine is wonderful. This year's flu strain is absolutely a perfect batch. You should get, nonsense. You're just a prostitute for the vaccine industry. Everybody knows it. People laughing at you, actually. No one even believes it anymore. So funny. All right, so let me get back to this press release from the American Medical Association. They're calling for convening a physician task force. Ooh, a task force. Are they going to wear like black bulletproof vests and shoulder pads and masks and stuff? Are they going to have rifles? Are they going to be like a SWAT raid team? Cool, man. All right. A physician task force. I love how they make themselves sound so important. We're gonna have a physician task force. You have like have a bunker with a command headquarters inside too. Okay. And quote, and launching an advocacy campaign to promote prescription drug affordability by demanding choice and competition in the pharmaceutical industry and greater transparency in prescription drug prices and costs. Wow, that's asking for a lot. Did you know a lot of these drugs cost maybe 5 cents to produce and they'll sell them for $500? The markups are insane. It's not unusual to have a markup that's 10,000, 50,000, even 100,000% over the cost of the ingredients. A lot of people don't know that. Here's something else you might not know. These big corporate drug companies, they actually pay off generic drug producers to keep competing drugs off the market so that consumers don't have a choice of what to buy that's more affordable. Instead, they're forced to buy the monopoly drug that just came off patent often and not able to have access to the generic drug. So think about that. These are corporations that pay off companies to make sure that you have to keep paying monopoly prices, even though there should be more affordable competitive options available. That's freaking evil. That's just like evil incarnate, and this is their business model. And these are the same people that commit felony crimes, the drug companies. They bribe physicians. They kick back hospitals. They engage in all kinds of criminal behavior. They use children in Africa for their medical experiments. They kill children sometimes too. I mean, this is the same people, the same kind of people that carried out Tuskegee, syphilis experiments on blacks in America. There you go. Same group, same kind of people. I'll be back after this break.